Welcome back to TSO Daily Dose. We're so glad that you've come to join us once more to hear what we're doing at the TSO during these tough times. Please tell us what you think and connect with us on Facebook with the hashtag TSO Daily Dose, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to get all the notifications. In today's Daily Dose, piano technician Rod Collins chats with Meriel Owen to discuss why concert grand pianos are such difficult beasts to maintain. But hang in there, we'll follow it up with some scintillating Chopin.
Rod, welcome to the TSO studio.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. I have to say, I think you have possibly one of the most interesting jobs in the whole of the TSO, and it's really all done behind the scenes. So essentially in the concert weeks, when we have a guest artist here to play the piano, this is somebody that's come in under tremendous pressure to play an instrument that they possibly have never touched before. And you are on speed dial for us. You are the man that makes the instrument sound as absolutely perfect as possible and to make the soloist feel as comfortable with that instrument as possible. How do you do that, Rod?
There is a sort of a standard, if you like, where prior to any performance and prior to the pianist coming in, you have to try to ensure that the piano is, if you like, in an average standard form, particularly tonally. So the tuning of the piano is a absolute must, and the working mechanism, which is to do with the touch of the instrument, also has to be totally consistent. From there, then it moves to the problematic stage of what appeals to somebody tonally. Somebody may want, for their particular repertoire, a soft, sweet sound, and another pianist might prefer a very crisp, clean sound. So it's your interpretation and your preference as a pianist, and that area is what's referred to as the voicing of the piano, and that's a very grey area, and one that is totally open to interpretation. You usually got a bit of an idea, knowing what the repertoire is in the first place, that if somebody were doing a presentation, a performance featuring like Bach, they probably want a fairly crisp, bright, light sound. So you may prepare the piano and do a little buffing of the hammerheads to just firm up the felt on the face so that you get that initially. So you're trying to preempt what you think they might like.
Rod, I'm wondering if I can just ask you to show us this model that you've brought in for us.
Sure.
It's the inside of a piano, which myself included, don't know much about.
Okay. This is a working model, happens to be Steinway. Most grand pianos are built in this form, and this design, the working mechanism, including the key, they came up with this fundamental design probably, I think, about 130 years ago. Despite the technological advances over the years, it still remains pretty much the same. Very simply, you have the key, which is usually the only part that people see, and then you have this section here. Well, we have to pretend that this is the string. Mm-hmm. When you press the note, the hammer comes up and strikes the string. It then moves back down to a semi-rest position where it's then ready to be replayed. So that whole mechanism, this is what's referred to as the action, if you like. So when we talk about the tuning of the piano, it's obviously just the strings that you're dealing with. The regulation of the piano is to do with the working mechanism and the relationship of one component versus another, and everything has to be absolutely in sympathy and working at optimum. The measurements are very, very fine. It's within a half a millimetre plus or minus, usually, the tolerances. And there are about 5,000 odd moving components in the action of a piano for this to occur. Everything has to work correctly. The part we're talking about when you're referring to the voicing and the preparation of the instrument for an individual performance by any given artist, bearing in mind that they may play a variety of materials. So you have to compromise a little bit on the tonal qualities, and the way you adjust them is to do particularly with hammerhead. That's a number 73 hammerhead, okay? So that's at the treble end, that's the size. That one there is probably about a number 28, and I think that's pretty similar. There's a different make of hammerhead, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so that's a number 28, so that's just below centre. Given there are 88 hammerheads on a piano, varying from decidedly bigger than that in the bass, because they're a big fat string, so you need something with some mass in order to make that string vibrate, through to very, very small hammerheads, fine hammerheads, where they're very thin strings and very short. So everything is graduated. The average touch on a piano is 50 grams down bearing, but that's graduated on a concert instrument, starting at about 56 grams, 58 grams in the bass, through to about 46, 45 grams into the treble. Everything has to work perfectly. It has to be as even as possible, so that a pianist with the same amount of down pressure with their fingers will achieve this pretty similar volume throughout the entire compass of a piano. And tonally, that's the weird part, the grey area, if you like, open to interpretation, is, again, has to be as even as possible.
So when we had major surgery done on Steinway 1 earlier this year, we were actually just dealing with that hammer, which is
exactly.
just one tiny part of the mechanism.
Yep.
So each of those hammers was replaced.
Yep.
And this piece of work took about 3 days to happen.
Yeah, a normal process is, it's actually more than that. That was done in rapid.
That was a
very, very rapid time. Normal process to change a hammer assembly, and this is your hammer assembly, in fact. So you have the components of the hammer assembly being the hammer itself, has a timber centre, an extremely dense core of wool felt, and then an outer, again, very, very dense felt layer. And that's actually wrapped over. It comes in a sheet like that, and it's wrapped over under great pressure, and the fibres are longitudinal, which is why they're a very, very expensive hammerhead for a Steinway or any high-quality instrument, be it a Yamaha, a Kawai, a Bosendorf, a Fazioli. It doesn't really matter. They all use the extremely expensive, fine quality wool. And the thing that makes it high quality, or the reason for that, is that they need a very long fibre in the felt itself rather than a short fibre. A short fibre is, you can't adjust the tonal quality of the hammerhead by needling it at certain points to adjust the density. With a short felt or a short fibre, that fibre can't actually transfer the tension from the crown of the hammerhead down through the shoulders, whereas a long fibre does. And that's why one of these little sets, as in 88 of these, usually will set you back somewhere between $4,000 and $7,000 just for that.
So it's an expensive process, and it's a lot of work.
Expensive process, yeah.
So after that, our instructions were that we had to come up with 80 hours of playing before the piano would be ready to do a concert.
Right.
And unfortunately, our problem was that we had 21 days to get 80 hours of playing in.
I know.
And we don't have any concert pianists as part of the orchestra. We do have members of the orchestra who play the piano, some of them very well. And we also have members of the orchestra who teach piano who have students who play extraordinarily well. So what we actually ended up doing was setting up a piano relay to cover.
Great. It was a terrific effort by you guys.
Oh, look, we had a wonderful time, and we actually, we had people from the orchestra playing.
Yeah.
We had a couple of people who actually in the administration came and tickled the keys a little bit.
Yeah.
We had pianists who regularly work with the orchestra, not as soloists but as members of the orchestra, came in, and some of them also brought their students, including a very talented local pianist, Luke Frost. We're very fortunate that we can have Luke Frost in the studio to play for us a Chopin Etude.